Hey, what's going on? This is another episode of the Bible Way Live for November 30th, last day in November, 2025, on a Sunday morning. I'm beginning of a busy day. Phew. But let's get right into it. That's all I got to say on that. I got to say on that. You know how we do, from old to new, apply the word to you. From where we last left off to Genesis chapter 39. Genesis chapter 39. Uh, get the audio straight. There we go. As always, at the end of each chapter, there will be a summary to pretty much understand the chapter all in general, pretty much. So let's get right into it. Genesis chapter 39. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt in Potiphar's house. And Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, brought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, uh, which had brought him down thither. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. Memory verse, chapter 39, verse 2. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. Memory verse, chapter 39, verse 3. And Joseph found grace in the sight of in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house and all that he had, and he put unto his hand. That he put it unto his hand. And it came to pass after a time that he had made him overseer in his house and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. Remember verse chapter 39, verse 5. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not all he had save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person, well favored. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph and said, Lie with me. Yeah, but he refused, and he said unto his master's wife, Behold, my master wanted not that is what is with me in the house, and he had committed all that he had to my hand. There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? Um, Memory verse chapter 39, verse 9. It came to pass as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her, or he or be with or to be with her. It came to pass about that time that Joseph went unto the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, Lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. It came to pass that she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth. And she called unto the men of her house and spake unto them, saying, See, he had brought an Hebrew unto us to mock us. He came unto me to lie with me. I cried out with a loud voice, Woo! Lie, lie, lie. And it came to pass when he heard that I lifted up my voice, he cried that he left his garment with me and fled and got him out. And she laid up his garment by her until his Lord came home. And she spake unto him according to these words, saying, The Hebrew servant which thou hast brought unto us came unto me to mock me. And it came to pass as I lifted up my voice and cried that he left his garment with me and fled out. It came to pass that when his master heard these words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, After this manner did did thy servant to me, and that his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound. And he was there in the prison. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. Memory verse, chapter 39, verse 21. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison. And whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. And the keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his feet, because the Lord was with him. And that which he did, the Lord made it to prosper. Memory verse, chapter 39, verse 23. Alrighty. Everybody knows this story. But let's move on to the summary. Genesis chapter 39. Okay, Genesis chapter 39 summary. Genesis 39 tells the story of Joseph in Egypt, showing how God was with him during unfair treatment. First point, Joseph in Potiphar's house. Joseph is sold to Potiphar, an Egyptian official, captain of the Pharaoh's guard. God blesses everything Joseph does. Second point, Third point, Potiphar notices Joseph's success and puts him in charge of his entire household. Third point, and fourth point, because of Joseph's, Potiphar's house prospers. Second point altogether, verse, Potiphar's wife tries to repeatedly to get Potiphar's wife in false accusation. Potiphar's wife tries repeatedly to get Joseph to commit adultery with her. For second point, Joseph refuses every time, saying that he will not sin against God or betray Potiphar's trust. Third point, one day she grabs him by his cloak, and Joseph flees, leaving his cloak behind. Fourth point, angry and embarrassed, she falsely accuses Joseph of trying to assault her. Falsely accuses. Third point in general of this chapter, Potiphar believes his wife's story. And as Joseph thrown into prison, even in prison, God is with Joseph. Even in prison, God is with Joseph. And the prison warden sees Joseph's integrity and puts him in charge of the other prisoners. Everything Joseph does succeeds because God continues to grant him favor. And that will do it. Genesis chapter 39. Everybody should know that. Know this chapter. Those that read the word. Yeah, everybody should know the story of Joseph. But what a story, at least this was as far as part of his life. What a chapter this was when it comes to his life. But like I said, keep him to wrap it up. Keeping in memory the memory verses in the summary. You'll be on your way. Yeah, but this, I had to do it. I feel my other job calling. It's another episode of the Bad Boy Live for November 30th, 2025 on a Sunday morning. Y'all have a good one. I'm gone.